Now allow me to introduce the VSN to you. The VSN staff understands the employment challenges that veterans, military spouses face because we too are veterans and military spouses too. We've matched over 2,700 qualified candidates with employers to fill temporary to permanent, contract, and direct hire positions. The fees from those placements are then reinvested into the coaching services, which has allowed the VSN to coach more than 15,000 veterans, wounded warriors, and military spouses. And this leads me to where I fit in. Our career coaching just isn't about helping people land a new job. It's actually about helping people discover what they need in work to be truly happy and contribute meaningfully so that hopefully they won't be looking for work for a very long time. Our process is to help people gain clarity on their career by understanding the core aspects of the employment process, which then they can take control of their job search and reach those career goals. Today, we're talking about effective LinkedIn profiles, and our session will cover the best practices of the LinkedIn photo, adding a banner, optimizing our headline and the summary work experience, and how to effectively use skills and endorsements as well as recommendations. And then I'm going to introduce you to some of the other features and some things that you may not have necessarily new to LinkedIn. Before we go into all of that, though, here are some reasons why to have a LinkedIn profile. One, it could help you find your next job or your next career move. It also increases your opportunity to be discovered by employers who are looking for people that have your talents. And it's a platform to showcase your achievements. You can also build a broad professional reputation and network. And let's face it, it's on 24/7 hours a day. If you wake up in the middle of the night or early in the morning and want to reach out and connect with somebody, guess what? You can probably do that because someone on the other side of the planet is probably on LinkedIn. And then, of course, with certain features, which I'm going to talk about here in a few moments, you can have access to LinkedIn Learning, which is a very vital aspect to learn how to use LinkedIn, and many other things you can learn through webinars and apps right off the platform. Let's talk about the basics, mainly the difference between LinkedIn Basic and the premium account. As job seekers or those of us that are maybe looking for information on a different career, you have two options as a job seeker or career seeker. That is the basic and the premium accounts. And here's a quick snapshot of what those might entail. Looking at it a little bit deeper, the LinkedIn Basic basically establishes your professional online identity. So unlike Facebook or TikTok or any of the other platforms that are out there, LinkedIn is the premier professional networking site. And most employers, if they're going to be looking for talent, initially start out using LinkedIn. It also enables you, once again, to build that professional network, and you can exchange recommendations and other important employment-related items with other members on the LinkedIn platform. It helps you out in your job search, as well as researching those companies that you are looking to apply to. And then, of course, those are saved, those searches. You can save those job searches and establish alerts that will alert you whenever a specific job title or a specific company posts a new position. And then in the basic account, it will offer you unlimited number of InMails, which is basically LinkedIn emails. The unfortunate thing is you can't send them from the basic account, which brings me to the premium. So firstly, disclaimer, I am not trying to sell anyone on whether you should get the premium or not. This is basically informational. It does cost $29.99. So basically $30 a month and roughly a little more than $350 annually. So with that, though, you get a ton of features that you don't get with the basic. One of those is the competitive intelligence. So if you have the premium account and you click on a job that you're interested in, this image that you see off to the left is basically the competitive advantage. You can see where your profile will stack up against others that are applying to that position. This is very detailed information that you're not going to get with the basic account or pretty much any other form such as Indeed or Glassdoor. So that is a great feature to have. Plus you get InMail credits, which essentially are those emails. You get 5 of those a month. And of course you can purchase more, but there's other things. You have access to LinkedIn Learning, which you don't have with the basics, with a basic account. And then there's something that's called Open Link Network, which is unique to the premium account. And what that does is only in the basic account, truthfully speaking, only the first degree connections can interact with you. And the second and third, unless you make them a first by by connecting with them as a first, they really don't have any interaction with you. They can see your profile and stuff like that, but it's very limited interaction. With this Open Link Network, though, that opens you up to people that are not even in your network. So they can actually introduce themselves to you, which you can't get in the basic. So those are just few of the features. And this is, like I said, the premium has all the bells and whistles. Whether it is worth the $29.99 a month, you'll be the judge of that. But with that being said, if you are not familiar with this, Mini offers a free trial of the premium account for 1 year if you're a veteran, military spouse, or transitioning service member. And if you go to, and I'll drop this link into the chat and everyone can view this. Some people don't realize if they have used it or not already. So I would go to this website, check it out, and you can register for a free 12-month trial period of LinkedIn Premium. And I would say, if you get it, use it, maximize it, learn how to use it the best of your ability, and then make that decision at the end of that 12 months if you're going to continue on or not. So that is the basic and premium account. So what are the benefits? Benefits of having or using LinkedIn? Essentially, you're building your brand. And for those of you that don't know what this really means, I'm going to have a Tuesday talk on this. Our next Tuesday talk actually is going to be on personal branding. But a quick snapshot of this is it refers to how you promote yourself, your expertise, your experience, and your personality in a way that you want everyone to see you. So that's basically you're marketing yourself to others, and you want to be remembered in a certain way. Think about Nike, think about Converse, think about Coca-Cola or Pepsi. So those are brands, and they have a product that they provide. And essentially you are that product, and you are using your skills, your abilities, and your experience to provide that service for employers. So that's what personal branding is really all about. And then, of course, discover those new job opportunities that are out there and target. LinkedIn gives you so much more access than Google or any Indeed or Glassdoor will have, because you can actually connect with employees that are part of that organization or alumni employees, people that have left that organization, to get real insight into that company, which you can't do on any of the other platforms. So think about that. And then you can stay up to date on industry trends and news. And then, of course, this can be part of your application process. So you can apply using your LinkedIn profile. And people have made the case that they don't need to have LinkedIn. And if that is the way you feel about it, that is everyone's choice. I will say this, though, you may be missing out on opportunities if you don't have it. And that is a personal choice that everyone will need to make. With that being said, let's get into some of the best practices and how to use LinkedIn to make it effective for you. One of those is we need to select a photo. Now, many people, again, can say, I don't want to put my picture up there. LinkedIn research, people that have a LinkedIn photo get 21 times the views than someone without. Now, there's a little bit more to this than just putting a photo up there. So I'm going to show you my ugly mug. All right. This is my photo. All right. And I didn't have a professional headshot. You can by all means do that, but you can also do a selfie of yourself. It takes a little bit of work. I took about 40 shots before I got the one that I thought was the best out of the pick. And you just have to make sure the lighting is okay. I stood in front of a window. I put my cell phone on the window and took a photograph, several 40 to be exact photographs. The key thing that you have to remember is lighting. Make sure that you dress professionally. That does matter. And then, of course, smile. Now, the reason behind the smile is that people like to see people that smile. People that view the profiles, see that person is a little bit more likable. If you are interested in getting a professional headshot done, this can be costly. However, there's an organization out there called Portraits for Patriots, and I'm dropping this into the chat as well. This is a nonprofit organization that helps veterans, transitioning service members, and military spouses get professional portrait photographs for their LinkedIn. And it's completely free. There are some requirements that you may need to meet in order to get this. And it's a group of volunteers, group of professional photographers dispersed across the nation and abroad. So if you're over in Japan or Guam or Europe, they may be connected as well. And they will go out to the nearest installation. You will meet them there and you can get a professional headshot done. So this is a great opportunity. If you haven't heard of this, by all means, check it out and pass the word along if you can. Next, after the photo, is the banner. And what the banner is, it's the photograph that is actually behind your headshot or your LinkedIn photograph. Now, as you can see, the one on top, that is the standard one. So it's blah. You can find free banners that you can customize and put on your LinkedIn profile. Why is this important? It's going to help you stand out from the 675 million LinkedIn users. It also adds that visual impact that helps you brand yourself. You can put your causes, you can take a photograph of yourself, maybe if you've done public speaking or you've done workshops before, whatever you do, design it and use it for your own personal branding. The reason this is important, if you just stick with the standard, well, it doesn't show that much creativity. And keep in mind, employers want talent that has creativity, that shows attention to detail and is a willingness to go beyond just the minimum requirements. And that's one way to show them that you are doing this. So keep this in mind, not only with your photograph, but also with the LinkedIn, your banner. From that point, we need to think about the headline. So I'm sure everyone here that has attended a LinkedIn presentation before has heard of this. You have to personalize your headline. You have 220 characters in order to do this, and that is a lot. They have expanded this. I think they did this last year where it used to be 120. They have now added an additional 100 characters to this. So you can put a lot of information in there. Think about the headline as your news story. What makes you interested in a news story? The headline does, and that's what's going to get you to click on that. So this is the same concept. You want to make sure that you use keywords, industry related keywords that, and your credentials in your headline. You may not necessarily want to use the basic setup, which just uses your job title. And that's fine if that's something that you're currently in, a role that you're in, and it's meeting your career objectives. But sometimes your job title may not necessarily be representative of what your personal brand wants to be. So you can change that. And I would recommend changing it for those that are looking to do that. And then make sure it's compelling, specific, add a certain amount of detail, especially if you have key achievements and results. You can put that in your headline. And then, of course, avoid bragging and using exaggerated statements. We don't want to do that. From here, next is going to be the summary. You have 2,000 characters that you can use. And many people use this in various ways. You can tell your career story. You can use this as part of, it's all going to be part of your personal branding, but you can make this as short as you want, or you make it as long as it needs to be. And I'll show you a couple examples here in a moment of various ways to format this. There's no one way to do this. The key thing behind this is what's going to best represent you, and you'll have to decide on how to do this. But you can tell your story, use it in a conversational tone. You can state your mission, your values, what your career goals are, and what you hope to achieve in your professional career. Definitely integrate those industry-related specific keywords. And then, of course, emphasize success through your achievements and your accomplishments. And then, of course, include a clear call to action, which generally means is a way for someone to get in contact with you to further that discussion. If someone's going to take the time to go through and read that, you want to leave them with something or some way for them to contact you. In general, you have to maximize this because initially you're only going to get 4 lines of text. So you have to maximize that 4 lines of text in order to get someone and gain someone's attention. Now there's a little box, there's a little click menu here that says see more. And statistics show that not many people actually use this. So that's why those first 4 lines are so important. But if you were to click on it, it would give you the rest of this person's summary. And this person decided to write a career story about why they enjoy doing what they do. A second example of this, and this is a little bit different. This person used media in theirs, which you can do. This is one of the fabulous things about, and you can actually include media. So if you've done a speech that was recorded, written articles, or had article, or you were mentioned in an article, you can plug that into your About Me section. Or the summary is the About Me section as well. And then you can use keywords. Think about this. When recruiters are searching for individuals, they use these keywords. And the more keywords that you have throughout your LinkedIn profile, this makes it more effective, meaning that you'll probably show up more chances of you showing up higher in those search results. And that's the general idea behind it. Along with crafting that summary or your about section comes the experience section is, hey, you remember you get 2,000 characters for your about section? Guess what? Each experience section, you also have 2,000 characters that you can use. That is a ton. So you'll have to maximize that information. And think about it, it's almost resume in itself for each of those. So you can use as much space as you need to. And I'll talk about the difference between LinkedIn profiles and a resume here in a moment, but how you set this up is really up to you. And best practices are use a lot of keywords, use a lot of accomplishments. As with the media with this, You can also include media in there. By including those keywords and the media, your relevant experience and goals and objectives, this section is ripe for individuals, those that are looking at your profile, to really get a grasp on how you are as a professional. So looking at this, the difference between your LinkedIn profile and the resume is both the LinkedIn descriptions, you can add a lot more than you would be able to add in your resume. Your resume is focused on a specific position. Your LinkedIn profile is broad because it is there to appeal to more individuals and more interest than the targeted resume that you use to apply to a job. So a couple of things that you need to make sure is contained in both is that the job titles are the same and the start and end dates and the basic information about each position is there. But you can expand a whole lot more in your LinkedIn profile. And then, of course, I've already talked about this, but I'll go ahead and recap. Your resume is focused on a specific employer. And then lastly, you want to utilize your LinkedIn profile to complement the resume. So it's there just to verify that what you put in your resume is accurate. And that's what employers are really looking for, is to see that. And let's face it, if we're using a targeted resume, we may have left off some employers in our history to make it targeted. That's going to be in your LinkedIn profile. So employers are going to be able to see that, but they understand that if you're targeting your resume to that position, that you're only using that relevant information. So it gives them a broader perspective of who you are as a professional. And that leads me to the next and probably the most underutilized aspect of LinkedIn, and that is the skills and endorsement. So I'm going to cover what they are, how they help, how to ask for them, and what you need in order to ask for endorsements. And then I'll give you a couple of templates that you will definitely, if you're interested in using, I'll put my email and stuff in there so that you can email me that you're interested. Firstly, what are endorsements? Basically, it allows a connection, a first degree connection. Your second and third degree connections aren't going to be able to do this, but endorse you with the click of a button. So bam, there it is. Very simple, right? However, these are very underutilized, and I myself didn't really realize the power and the reason why these are very, very useful. So endorsements are a way that you can be recognized for a skill that you have. Only the skills that are listed on your profile can be endorsed. So if it's not on your profile, nobody can endorse it. The reason that these help is, and most of you have heard of search engine optimization, going back to those keywords and how people use keywords to search for people or things on the internet. We all do this whenever we're looking for something. If we're looking for a restaurant, we use the keywords for that restaurant and boom, we get results. Same concept. So that's what these skills and being endorsed for these skills really do. When a recruiter is looking for you, they are using these keywords, and the algorithm is what allows your profile, depending on how many of these skills related to the keyword that you have endorsed. So the more endorsements that you have, the higher your chances that you'll appear in those results. And according to LinkedIn, people with at least 5 or more skills, have 17 times more views of their profile. Before you start asking people for endorsements, you might want to do some of these things. Firstly, you want to maximize and cover as many skills as possible. So it gives you 50 skills. You want to maximize all 50 of those skills. You want to include hard skills, soft skills, and those transferable skills. And then, of course, understand that LinkedIn categorizes those skills, and they will put them in these categories: industry knowledge, tools, and technologies. And then, thank you, Lois. And then interpersonal skills. And this here is key, because if you don't pin those top three, then the one that you really want to be, or those top three that you really want to be endorsed for, they could be at the bottom. So you have to take those and you have to pin them at the top of your list. This allows people to see that those are the top three skills that you are looking to have endorsed. And that is very helpful. Otherwise, they're going to have to scroll through and find those skills. But if they're pinned to the top, then you can have those endorsed. And then you can also rearrange within those sections the top skills so that they don't necessarily just go to their default placement. So keep those things in mind.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, because I wasn't aware that you can pin the top skills that you wanted to endorse. So that's pretty neat.
Yes, and it's very important, because otherwise those key skills will get buried. Yes, if you have the time, hop right on LinkedIn right now and start figuring out which ones you want to have pinned up there. So here's the thing: endorse others' skills before you ask. And this might sound, some people are just uncomfortable with asking these things. And I'm one of these people, just because I've always thought that people, they're going to recognize me for my skills, my abilities, my work ethic, and stuff like that. And so I find this difficult, and you might feel the same way. However, this is the way things go, and this is the way to get things done when we are working with social networking. So the best way to get endorsements is to ask for endorsements, but reach out to those friends, those families, and then personalize a message. And we'll talk about that here in a moment, but you want to be very specific as to the direction that you want this person to go in. And that's where the uncomfortable part comes in, because now we're shaping how we want people to endorse us. But believe me, and not everyone will endorse you or endorse you back. So you may endorse them and they may not endorse you back. But the more people that you conduct this outreach to, the better chances that you're going to get those skills endorsed. And then, of course, be sure to thank you, Lois, that endorse you. Here is an example of what a template might look like. And keep in mind, you can use any template that you choose to. This is just an example, and definitely reach out to me if you would like this. And here, what we're really looking at is just that basic outline. And we're just saying, hey, how you doing? This is for a coworker. And these are just as important as asking someone as an ex-coworker, or et cetera, et cetera. Just a small request. I'm working on fixing or updating my LinkedIn profile. Would ask that you please endorse me for this, that, and the other. I've taken the liberty to endorse your skills. If there's anything else I can help you with, I'd be happy to. Just let me know. That's essentially what this is saying. Here is one for a ex-coworker. Now, you may have to do a little bit of work for an ex-coworker, because you may not have been in touch with them for a while. So you might need to remind them of the experiences that you had with them. And that's what I have highlighted here. So going through the same thing. Hey, how you doing? Hope all is well. I've been following your profile. I really like that you did XYZ. It's a template. So you have to personalize this a little bit, but do the same thing. You're asking them to endorse you, let them know that you are willing to return the favor. If they need anything else, please get in touch with you, et cetera, et cetera. That is the endorsements. And similarly to how we help our endorsements are the recommendations. Now, most people get wrapped around you wouldn't believe it took me a long time to get this. And I'm still working through this, because just the same as endorsements, you have to ask people, truthfully speaking, you have to ask people, and this may feel uncomfortable. So we're going to talk about how to ask for these recommendations, who, what, when, and where, or who, what, when, and how. And then, of course, take a look at some recommendations. So think of this as your Google review or your Yelp review, how you get those stars. So recommendations are that what's called social proof. Other people are recognizing you for your work, the achievements. So it's visible to all LinkedIn users, and it acts as that validation, because if other people are mentioning it, then it's a little bit more believable. Yes, we can talk about ourselves all day long, but it's not until other people's opinion dates it that people start believing. So that's why this is important. And then, of course, it adds that authenticity that gives the reader or the recruiter an idea of who you are, both professionally and personally. So that's a great thing. And then visitors can get that valuable insight as to your work style and your abilities. Why this is important? Again, that social proof. Other people are talking about this. Then it plays a key role in your networking, because when you're networking, other people, especially if you're doing cold contacts, other people are going to look at your, 9 times out of 10, they're going to look at your profile to see whether or not they are interested in connecting with you. And if they can take a view and get an idea of who you are through your recommendations, that adds a little bit of value to that relationship. And then, of course, it influences and could influence a targeted employer's decision, because they have a little bit more of that information about you, whether or not they are going to reach out to you, et cetera, et cetera. So when do we ask? When we have a success on the job, and maybe you're working with other colleagues and other departments on a joint project or a joint effort. So that would be the time to ask individuals to provide recommendations, usually those in the other departments, leadership. That's a great way to do that. And then, of course, when you're looking for a new job. So before, back in my day, and you still can do this, we would ask for letters of recommendation when we were leaving our old employer. This is essentially the same thing. You can do both. That way you can hand that in with your applicant in the interview to the employer. It speaks volumes, and it even adds a little bit more value if it's on your LinkedIn profile. What about when the manager leaves a company? Not just your immediate manager, but any of those managers that you may have worked with before. So we're looking at maximizing the number of recommendations. And if you can get 3 to 5 recommendations from your employer, that is great. That is wonderful. So as they're leaving, this is a way for you to say, hey, thank you for everything that you taught me. I learned a lot from you. By the way, would you be so kind as to lend a recommendation for me on my LinkedIn profile? Of course, I'll show you how to send it in an email, but you probably want to talk to them in person first before you go through that process, because it just works a little bit smoother. You get that face-to-face contact, assuming that you're in person, or definitely give them a call, talk to them over the phone, or if you do a Zoom meeting, whatever the case may be. But you probably want to go that route, at least initiating, before you send that email. And then, of course, if you have a success with a client, so it's just not your employer or your past employers and your coworkers. If you've worked with a client before, you've had a success with them, ask them as well. This adds that credibility from an outside perspective, not only those that have worked with you as an employer, but people that interact with you also. So keep that in mind. So who to ask? Managers and those in senior positions. This adds that bit of credibility to this. Keep in mind, people are looking for, obviously, those in higher positions to provide that. Colleague may not necessarily hold the same weight, but it adds to what you are like as a person and what you are like to work with. If you have more people that are saying, yeah, Michael's great to work with, he does this, he does that, he's very helpful in these circumstances. Okay, that's good. That's great, because remember, we're looking and employers are looking for individuals that are going to fit their team, they're going to fit their culture. This is one way to show that, what your personality is like and what you are like to work with. Clients, going back to who to ask for, clients are great because that could be a catalyst, especially if you're freelancing or you're thinking about opening your own business. Now you have clients that you've worked with before that have said great things about you, and it just adds to your credibility. When asking for it, first you want to narrow down that list of relevant connections. We just don't want to ask anyone. Narrow it down, take the time to personalize it. And this little note here, similar to what we wrote in our recommendations, it just is thanking this person. They have talked to them before, and this person had actually agreed to provide them the recommendation. You're actually going to structure it to the things that you would hope that they would say. And sometimes you have to write this yourself because some people are uncomfortable writing a recommendation from scratch. So sometimes you have to actually give them the information that you want to have written in your recommendation. Also, exchange recommendations. I know this feels a little bit hunky-dory, but it is a way to get recommendations. Give recommendations, you get recommendations, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, don't make this person feel pressured. And what that means is don't say, look, if you don't, then I'm going to hold this over your head. So we don't want to do that. We don't want this person to feel pressured in any way. Here's an example of what this might look like. And this is for a former manager. Remember, you have to give them the information that you want them to put in there. And as you can see here, we use what project here, also the reason, whatever that reason might be. Maybe you're looking for a new job, and you're using the skills that you hope that they would include in that recommendation. So that is what that looks like. And here is a request from a colleague. Similarly, same information, just that it is a little bit different. Then you can be a little bit more lighthearted than you probably would with a manager. Still, you're recognizing that this individual is busy and that you would be happy to return the favor, skills that you would like them to talk about. And lastly, maybe to clients or other individuals that you've been working with, same kind of concept. You want to make sure that you recognize that they bring back that maybe a conversation you had, maybe the project that you worked on, and then give them that information as to what they need to put in there. So this would be considered a vague recommendation. It's a one sentence that basically doesn't give a reader a lot of information besides saying that this person, Ben, is a great person or a pleasure to work with. We probably would want a little bit more. Now, there's a feature in LinkedIn that allows you to have that person revise it. You can send them a revised copy with a little bit more meat and potatoes, maybe something to this reference, and then let them say, yeah, okay, I'm okay with that. And then all they do is post that back in there. And again, we're going with this. We want specific items that we are structuring them to right there. So other sections, you can put in there what your causes are, what you really believe in. And more people are doing this. It also gives a snapshot of what your personality is. And it might align to many companies out there that are looking for talent and that culture fit. Licenses and certifications, let's face it here, you don't need to wait until you get down to this to put it in there. Put it throughout your profile, starting from the header, the About Me section or summary section, in your experience section, and of course in here. The more times that those show up, the more times those critical key skills, or should I say keywords, are going to show up in searches. Courses, I talked about LinkedIn Learning. You also have Coursera, Udemy, and many other online courses that you can take that have stickers or something that you can put on LinkedIn that says that you completed a course there. Those are very valuable. In this day and age, it shows that you're a consummate lifelong learner, and employers definitely want that. Badges, that's what it is. You can have badges put on your LinkedIn profile. Honors and awards similarly expressed, like licenses and certifications. Don't wait till you have that in this section. Put it throughout your profile. That way people are seeing it, it's registering with them. Because remember, by the time they get to this at the bottom, they may not even get to the bottom. So the more times that they see it up there, it's going to register. And then, of course, volunteer experience. I tell many people that I help with resumes that if you have volunteer experience that's directly related to the work that you do, you don't have to wait to put it in the volunteer section. You can put that in your experience section and like it is a regular job and fill it out with that information. You want to make sure that you identify it as volunteer, but if you IT help desk work for a church or whatever it might be, a nonprofit as a volunteer, and you're looking to expand your experience in IT, that is work experience, whether it's paid or non-paid, it's still valuable. So definitely put it there. And then, of course, if it's not related to your work experience, then you can use that volunteer section also. Here is something that many of you may not necessarily know about, but it's called LinkedIn cover story videos. If you use this, this is a double-edged sword. If you are not one of those individuals that are very, you don't do well on camera or doing videos, you don't do TikTok or stuff like that, this may not necessarily be for you. However, if you are able to make a 30-second video, you can use this for your 30-second elevator speech or your elevator pitch. And employers are going to be able to see this. So as they go over your profile, it will play a 3-second muted of the video, and then they can click on that and it will show them your 30-second video that you put together. It showcases your personality, highlights your specific goals. And once you've done that, you'll get a orange halo around your profile picture, like you see here on mine. Now, I will tell you, this is tough. It's not easy. Even though I do these Tuesday talks, I'm still working on this part because it does require a lot of effort to make sure that it looks good, it sounds right. And remember, employers are going to be looking at this. If you've seen this, some people have it on theirs, others don't. If you use this feature, you have to be careful with it. What this means is it opens you up so that employers can contact you. There's 2 features of this. If you used all LinkedIn members, everybody's going to see you. And if you're currently employed, your employers are going to see you as well. If you don't want your employer to know that you're looking or you're open to new opportunities, you may want to use the recruiters only feature, which allows those recruiters that are using the LinkedIn recruiter to be able to see that you're open to new. This is a lot better than posting that you're looking for work or that you're open to new opportunities on your profile. That is somewhat frowned upon, and this being open to everyone may have that negative reaction as well. So you can use the recruiters only feature to hide that from the general public. Keep in mind, this is not foolproof, so you have to be strategic about how you want to use that. Some key takeaways here: make sure you use those best practices for your photo. Make sure you smile. It makes people a lot happier and it makes you seem a little bit more approachable. And then add that banner, again, that creativity, a willingness to go above and beyond just the normal or the regular. And then, of course, make sure you fill out that work, your summary, your work experience, maximize it using your industry keywords as well as your accomplishments and your experiences. And then, of course, recommendations and those endorsements. Those are going to be wonderful additions to your LinkedIn profile. If you haven't worked on these, it's probably the best thing that will bring attention to making your profile more effective. And then, of course, keep in mind those other sections. Without further ado, the floor is now open to questions. Does anybody have any questions? That brings us to the conclusion of today's Tuesday Talk. Here's my contact information if you have any questions or you'd like to schedule some time to speak with me. I appreciate everyone's time and attention. Remember, Connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and share your thoughts and opinions on your experience too. Also, don't forget to complete the end of session survey. Your feedback is very, very important to us. Lastly, if you watch this on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and click the bell to be notified of any new videos that are released. And share your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Until next time, farewell.